So if you lost a lot of weight using any type of GLP-1, semaglutide, if you've taken these things, the biggest reason it was able to help is because it suppressed your appetite significantly, helped you keep your calories down, and therefore you lost weight. But now the challenge becomes, if you want to get off them, how do you make sure you keep that weight off? Because that hunger is going to return. And the big problem is not only will hunger return, but it's probably going to be significantly worse than it would be even if you were just to lose all that weight without using something like a semaglutide. And the reason for that is because it's kind of like a double whammy. When you lose a lot of weight, you have these changes to your hunger hormones. You have one called ghrelin, which has been nicknamed the hunger hormone because when it elevates, it makes you more hungry. And this goes up significantly when you lose weight. You've got another one called leptin. This has a lot of different functions. One of them is kind of like appetite control. And this one reduces as you lose weight. So you have one hormone telling you you're hungry, you have another one telling you that you're never full. It can be so easy to overeat. So the biggest reason it's so hard to keep weight off if you come off these things is because your body is going to be unbelievably hungry. It's almost impossible to prepare someone for how hungry you're going to be if you go through this because the food noise is so intense. You're just ravenously hungry. You're always thinking about food. It feels like there's no amount of food in the world that's enough to keep you full. So if you're feeling this, it's normal. You're not alone, but we got to find some strategies to help get past this so you don't end up gaining all that weight back. But before I get into the strategies you can take that helps, there's one other thing you really need to understand besides just the extreme hunger that makes it easy to gain weight. It's also because when you lose that much weight, especially if you did it in a fast pace, unfortunately, this tanks your metabolism and you have all these changes to your hormones. You probably lost a lot of muscle, and while you may not even care about muscle in terms of looks, losing that muscle significantly impacts your metabolism. And there's even some evidence that hunger doesn't return to normal post-diet until your lean body mass gets back to where it was before you started the diet. For instance, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Minnesota starvation experience, and you could never do this now because it would never get approved, but they basically starved these men. They lost weight in a hurry, and then when they were done with it, they just said, okay, go ahead and just eat whatever you want. And because their hormones were so jacked up, they were so hungry, their metabolism was slow, weight came back in a hurry. But there's something called hyperphagia, which basically means that you're just like ravenously hungry, always thinking about food, just intense food focus and hunger. And if you look at this chart, when they were dealing with this, that hyperphagia did not subside until their lean body mass actually got back to where it was before they started their diet. But because they gained weight so fast and their metabolism was so slow, you can see that their fat mass was way higher when they started the diet. And this is why it's so common when you're a yo-yo dieter, you do a lot of crash dieting methods, that not only do you gain the weight back afterwards, but you gain a lot more. So that's why if you use something like a semaglutide, you lost a lot of weight, you did it in a hurry, you can't change that. The past is done. But now just understand, you're in for a battle right now and you need to be prepared for it. But if you use these methods and you stay strong, you will be able to keep the majority of your weight off. So let's get into what you can do. First, I'm not going to be the guy that says, well, you just can't go back to your old lifestyle. You know this. That is not helpful. I mean, obviously, of course, you want to stay active, you want to lift weights, you want to do these things that are great for you, and you should absolutely be doing them. Whether you're on something like Ozempic or not, you should always be using regular exercise as a part of your routine. But one of the biggest helps is, well, I know you probably want to get off it, and again, you don't have to. If you need to stay on it for the rest of your life, by all means do it. I'm not the guy who says it's cheating and it's a quick fix and you shouldn't do it. For some people, it makes sense. Everyone struggles with different things, and if you need to be on it and it helps you, great. But if you want to get off it, instead of just completely stopping going cold turkey, what would be a much better method, and again, this is between you and your doctor, how to do this, but you want to taper your dosage down. So instead of going from a full dose straight to nothing, you're going to give your body time to get used to having a little bit less help and a little bit less help and a little bit less help. And that's going to help keep your body from going through just that extreme initial hunger that you weren't prepared for. Another thing you can do, and this is where most people come to me for help, is you go through a process called reverse dieting. This is where you start gradually increasing your calories to get your hormones up, to get your metabolism to speed up. Because understand, when you eat less calories, your metabolism slows down. When you eat more calories, your metabolism speeds up. The problem is, if you just go from barely even eating to lots of calories right off the bat, your body can't keep up. It gains weight rapidly. This is how you end up setting yourself back so fast. But if you take those increases gradually and get your metabolism back to where it's supposed to be, this helps minimize some of that weight gain while getting those calories up. But here's the thing, while this is something that I normally preach and think is a great method for many people, in these cases, it might not be the best. It just kind of depends, because with the food focus and the food noise being so high, especially especially if you weren't even tracking your calories before, and now you're tracking everything you eat. By default, because you're tracking everything, you're focused more on food, and that extra food focus might make you even more hungry. So it's kind of a difficult thing here. It just depends on the individual. But if you can track and you can stay on top of it, it's going to help significantly. But you're probably not going to want to do it at a slower pace. Like a lot of people want to do slower paces, maybe only around 50 calories a week. But if you've been on really low calories, your metabolism is probably pretty suppressed. So you can make faster increases anyways. And maybe you're going to do 100, maybe even 200, 300 calories just to come out of that deficit. But then from there, you can take it more gradually once it gets to a better spot. What you don't want to do is go so slowly that it feels like it's nothing and you're so hungry that you're overeating and you're binging because it feels too restrictive. So a higher calorie target that you can more realistically hit is better than a lower target that you can't realistically hit and you end up binging on it. Another thing you do to help with the hunger is make sure you have some sort of routine with your eating schedule. So you have structure, you eat at certain times, you stick to those times, because by doing that, you tend to be less hungry than just kind of sporadic eating, lots of little snacking here or there. And I do recommend bigger meals with minimal, if not even zero snacking whatsoever, because the problem with a lot of snacking and stuff is like these little itty bitty things you're eating to try to help, they don't really even do anything for your hunger. A lot of times it makes you even more hungry. And the thing is, like, when you're much leaner than your body's used to, you're well below your body fat set point. A lot of times food is like the gateway drug to hunger. Like when you eat your meal, you might not even be that hungry to begin with. But once you eat, it's like there's no off button and you never want to stop. You finish your meal and you're just so hungry. You feel like, I need more food. I've got to keep eating because I'm so hungry. So when you have this schedule and this routine, you can have bigger meals that will fill you up more. But even on top of that, plan what you're going to eat and make sure you stick to that. And if you're still hungry after that meal's done, tell yourself, I can eat more, but I have to wait a half hour. If I'm still hungry a half hour after I'm done eating, then I can eat some more. And of course, you're better off eating some actual filling foods, like some extra protein sources, higher fiber foods, things like that, not running to like, cookies and cake and stuff like that, that you may be craving that, but they're not gonna do anything for your hunger. But the thing is, a lot of times when you sit with your hunger, especially after a meal, it eventually goes away. But if you keep trying to eat because you still feel hungry, you're just gonna keep eating, and the body's never gonna shut that signal off until you get to the point where you're so full. By the time you realize you're full, you actually feel sick to your stomach because it took time for your stomach to catch up. So learning to sit with hunger is a very important tool to making sure you can keep the weight off after any type of diet, but especially coming off of something like a GLP-1. Now, this next thing I'm going to talk about is not going to be a popular message. It's probably not something you're going to want to hear, but it's an integral part to not only keeping your weight off, but eventually getting to a spot where you're less hungry, because that's going to be your biggest challenge. You're going to be hungry for quite a long time. It depends on how much weight you lost, how aggressive you got, how fast you were losing weight, all that type of stuff. But one of the biggest things that's going to help you feel less hungry is just time. Your body needs time to get used to this lower body fat level. Again, you have a body fat set point. Your body is used to that. You are now well below that. Your body doesn't like it. It wants to get you back to that place. It's going to do everything it can to get you to gain that weight back. It's just a survival instinct. It's not like there's something wrong with you. Your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's trying to get those energy reserves back. That's what your body fat is. It's an energy reserve. If you go through long periods of time with no food, if you're talking thousands of years ago when food was scarce, if you didn't come by food for a long time and your body didn't make these adjustments, you would starve to death in a hurry. So the extra body fat was there to protect you so that if you did go a long time without food, you could survive through that. This is why you're so dang hungry and your motivation drops and your mood drops. Everything just kind of gets worse because your body's doing everything it can to get you to gain that weight back. So you have to be able to fight back. But if you stick with it, it'll get better. One thing you'll probably notice that happens over time is you kind of have a lot of ups and downs. What I see frequently is one week you're very hungry, the next week not so much, then the next week you're hungry again, and then you're not, and you're kind of like, what is going on? What is wrong with my body? This is kind of like your body trying to stabilize a little bit. And I usually find when you're going through that, you're getting pretty close to the point where you're going to be less hungry more of the time. And now because you're increasing your calories with reverse dieting, your hormones are starting to get back to normal, you're going to get there. But it's going to take time. And also, while this video is about trying to not gain weight as much as possible, understand you need to be okay with gaining some weight back. In fact, gaining some weight back, unfortunately, is the easiest and fastest way to reduce that hunger and that food noise, because that's going to increase your leptin, it's going to decrease your ghrelin, and the more you gain weight back, the more that's going to help. But again, obviously you don't want to gain it all the way back, but there's a big difference. Like I've had people who've lost 120, 150 pounds, they gain 10, 20 pounds back, and they freak out thinking they're going back to the way things were before. And it's like, no, keep in mind, you were way heavier than you are now. And even if you were 120 pounds down, you gained 20 back, you're still 100 pounds down. You're not going to go back to the way things were unless you go back to the way things were and go back to your old lifestyle and you give up. And this is what happens. You get demoralized, you feel bad that you're gaining weight, and you say, screw it, it's not worth it, it's too hard, I can't do this anyways. And then you just give up, you eat whatever you want in whatever quantities you want, you're not working out, you just say screw it, and then you end up gaining it all back. So be okay with gaining some back. You're just trying to keep it within reason and not just go completely off the rails. So don't forget how far you've come. Remember where you were when you started, what you would have given at that time to be where you are now. Even if you've gained 20, 30 pounds back, you probably would have given anything to be where you are right now. So don't forget that. Don't judge yourself for your body weight, body size, anything like that. Be patient here, give it time. Hopefully some of these strategies will help. But here's the thing, there's actually a bunch of strategies you can take to help with hunger. And these are just normal strategies, whether you're coming off of something like Ozempic, or you're just in a fat loss phase in general, or you just struggle with hunger to begin with. There's many strategies you can take that I didn't cover here that can help reduce your hunger. So if you want some more strategies to help, make sure you check out this video next, and I'll see you next time.